The dictionary defines miracles, or a miracle, like this. Noun: an extraordinary and welcome event that is not explicable by natural or scientific laws and is therefore attributed to a divine agency. Now, I'd like in this video, in the next few minutes, to explore that idea with you, in particular, the idea that you, any of us, you, me, anyone, can create miracles every day. They're as everyday as toast. Let's dive into that. All right. Now, I guess when I talk about miracles, what you're expecting is, I don't know, to be able to turn water into wine, or, the miracle of the loaves and fishes, or something along those lines. And that's certainly how I remember learning about what miracles were at school. And of course, I, along with all my other classmates, just thought, wow, those are impossible things. I mean, we were 5 or something. And I don't think that my idea of what miracles are really changed very much until relatively recently from that 5-year-old view. But I'd like to think about something else. Let me go back to that definition. It says, not explicable by natural or scientific laws, and is therefore attributed to a divine agency. Now, a divine agency, it doesn't actually name the divine agency. I guess the dictionary is trying to be very neutral across the board for people with all kinds of beliefs, and that's respectful and that's fine. But there is a presupposition about that divine agency, and it's this: it's outside of us. Throughout history, including right up to the present day, human beings have believed in and worshipped divine agencies outside of us. I've been to Egypt. I don't know if you've ever been to Egypt. It's an amazing place. And we did a Nile cruise and went on the tour of the temples. And I certainly don't remember how many gods there were, but there were hundreds of them. And we know that they had these beliefs in, certainly this incredible belief in life after death, and our understanding of the pyramids. And we also went to the Valley of Kings, all these tombs with all this treasure, most of which has been stolen, of course, that they were buried with, and the monument, the pyramids that are the monuments to these dead pharaohs, and so on. Remarkable achievements because of what we now call the ancient Egyptians, and they would have just called themselves the Egyptians, believed was necessary after physical death. And there were temples where I remember going to one in Luxor, where there are columns, hundreds of columns, well over 100 columns, one for each god that they had to worship, and I can't remember if they made sacrifices to, and so on. We went to another museum where there are mummified crocodiles because they believed that crocodiles were the gods of health and healing. I don't know how they arrived at that conclusion. It seems a bit strange to our modern minds, maybe, but anyway, there are these amazing crocodiles from thousands of years ago, all bandaged up and mummified because the Egyptians believed that they needed to preserve them in some way. So all of these ideas that we are not in charge, and there are other powers, divine agencies, if you like, out there that pull the strings and run the show. And if we're very nice to them, if we pray to them, maybe make sacrifices to them, certainly believe in them wholeheartedly, there's a chance that they'll be nice back to us, especially when we require a miracle. Something, life appears to be going off track for whatever reason. Maybe, it could be a big thing like a drought or a famine or a plague of locusts, or it could be a personal thing like an illness or wanting to pass an exam that you haven't studied for or something. And we still have this idea that if we appease the divine agency in some way, maybe we'll get back on track and things will turn out all right. So I'd like to put a different spin on it, because, and this is going to be controversial, but hey, if I just said what you already think and what I imagine you want to hear, then there'd be no point in me making these videos. What if the divine agency is us, me, you, the neighbors, the people who serve you in supermarkets, the waitress who brings your coffee? What if it's us? Because really, a miracle is nothing more than an insight or a moment of transition that occurs when our mind shifts from one perspective to another. It's not that it's an external thing created by a divine agency out there. It's that what we have is kind of, think of it like layers of a big cake maybe. And the top layer is, the icing and some sponge. And then if you take that off, inside is some sort of lovely filling. Right now, I know it all goes together, and so do we. Our minds and our bodies are all made as one continuous thing. So when, I think my cake analogy is going to fall apart, but let's keep going. When you stop using the outer layer of your mind, which is the logical thinking mind that we're all used to, the one we're made to use every day at school and throughout whatever education, college, university, every day, think and study and cram facts and facts and figures into our heads. And that's fine. I've said many times, the intellect, our intelligence, is an incredible faculty. It's an incredibly powerful, useful tool. But it's not the only one we have, because we also have what we call intuition, insight, even imagination, ideas, all those words that begin with I, which is an interesting thing to note, I. Where do they come from? Where does an idea come from? You cannot have an idea by going, I'm going to have an idea. You cannot scrunch up your face and make yourself have an idea, because you're trying to force the conscious, intelligent brain to come up with something it's never thought of before. And it won't do that. It's when we allow that to put it on pause, when we stop it, even for a moment, new ideas, new insights bubble up. And that's where miracles start from. Incidentally, if you're interested to follow this process in more detail around the issue of money, then please check out my Effortless Money Manifesting Masterclass. It's free, and I'll put a link in the description, and hopefully there'll be a QR code on screen, one side or the other, not sure. That's the opposite side. It's like looking in a mirror. Let's consider this for a moment. Every idea, everything that you can see around you, by the way, that's made by humans, came through you or through other people. Now we can say it was given by a divine agency, if you like. I don't mind that. But we're connected in the same way that your TV set is connected to the electricity supply in your home. Or indeed, the Wi-Fi, my TV now runs pretty much, I think 100% from the Wi-Fi, right? So the set itself is connected to the electricity supply. The Wi-Fi router, as we call it in the UK, is separately connected to the electricity supply, and somehow the Wi-Fi signal, which must be some kind of wave, I don't know what that looks like in a diagram, speaks to the television, and we're able to watch the programs that we want to see. Now, we have a similar connection to the divine agency, the intelligence of the universe. It comes through us. This amazing computer that I'm speaking to you or creating this video on now exists because human beings worked out the technology, the microchips, and then the binary code and the incredible, don't ask me to talk any more tech than that, because I don't know how it works, not a clue. In fact, I saw a video today made in 1989, I think, which was an advert promoting laptops, and even a really basic one was something like $1,100, I think it was. We would laugh at it today, which would be many thousands of dollars today. So we're advancing all the time, and that's because we have ideas. But those we join dots in our head. Those are miracles. I have produced in my own life. I manifested, I don't know what other word to use, all the money for a Mercedes, which also turned up on the same day that the money arrived in my bank. By following breadcrumbs, ideas, little silly thoughts in my head. Oh, what happened if I do that? I met my life partner back in 2006. I couldn't have foreseen it. I couldn't have planned it. To me, that still seems like a miracle. We're happily married all these years later. The money for I've told these stories elsewhere. The money for a mortgage that I couldn't pay turned up because I stopped fighting it. And that's the point I want to make. When you try and force things to happen, when you try to control, which is what we are kind of groomed to do, our whole culture tells us, what you think harder, try harder, do your best, all of those kind of things that came on our school reports, came on mine anyway, remember? Must try harder, could do better, do your best. All of those phrases implied, I remember understanding that what they meant was, I have to do more of this. Try harder, even harder. No, that's not what you need to do. Now, sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. If your car breaks down at the bottom of a hill and the only way to get it to the top is to push it up there, you are going to have to try harder. Although I expect you could probably find a tow truck, right? But you see what I mean? Let go. I would say, let's use that silly idea. If your car breaks down at the bottom of a hill and the only thing you can think of is, well, I'm going to have to push it to the top on my own, stop. Let your mind settle and think, do you know what? There has to be a better idea, a better solution to that. And within seconds, I guarantee you, I could call for a tow truck or some other kind of help. See what I mean? So let's talk about how to create miracles every day. First, let me say this. You don't create miracles, you allow them. You let your mind go quiet. But here's the big key I found, is allow yourself to be guided one step at a time. That's it. Wait for the next step. When you take that step, the next one reveals itself. What we have a tendency to do is go, I can't see how that will work. I could never get there. And then we don't try. Instead of, well, why don't you make this phone call or answer that email or walk down that street that you don't normally go down or turn left instead of right on your route to work, whatever it is, just for one day. And you don't know what that will bring. But if you have the nudge, if you have the impulse, and it's listening to those impulses that brings the miracles about. So my suggestion to you, as an experiment, just as an experiment, is for the next week, for the next 7 days, pause long enough for your mind to go quiet. I'm talking 30 seconds to a minute. And then just notice what thoughts arise. Now, to begin with, it might be, I'm just thinking about my dinner, or I've got to feed the cat, or whatever. That's fine. But let that settle. Just watch those thoughts. And you'll notice quiet takes over eventually. And when I'm talking eventually, I mean a few seconds to a minute or two. And sometimes in that quiet, an idea will pop in, random. I don't know where that came from. That's divine agency. And then the next part of that, part 2, is trust it. See where it leads. If you want to try this for money, please check out my Effortless Money Manifesting Masterclass. The link is in the description, and I will do my best to put a QR code one side of the screen or the other if you want to scan. And that's my message. Miracles are created through us all the time when we go quiet. I hope this has been a helpful video, and I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in another video.